Omo, now the latest interview we they do with Atiku. Atiku say he say they not rich. He shook mad for so many things. When I not say since everybody they talk, Atiku never come out to talk. He say Peter Obi no rich. Say Peter Obi no rich and follow contest. Say Peter Obi no they go anywhere. My people, the matter tough. Atiku never talk since. At the first time we basically they come and come talk, come make speech like long one like this. Make una watch away the interview and but before you go, I beg, don't forget, I beg, quickly smash on that button when it says subscribe. And I beg, follow me, share the news. It is very important. If you know, see they follow what they happen for Nigeria about our politics, our politicians, the campaign where they do so, Atiku, Peter Obi, and the other of our grandfather. He too self. I know what they talk about. So all of them now, all of them join. He said they're not rich. I bet watch the video.
Watch this video when I hear everything we talk. And as I watch them, people don't forget to share this video so that everybody go watch and be the hear everything we Atiku talk. Well, now, when I watch it.
The negotiations from the Southeast were not successful this time. Your erstwhile running mate, Peter Obi, left the PDP and joined another party, is also running for president. How do you think this will affect your prospects, given that the Southeast has always been such a safe zone for the PDP?
I really don't expect, the Labour Party to, to take as much votes from the PDP as people are suggesting. We could have seen it in the last elections in Austrian State. What is the performance of the Labour Party? This is a party that doesn't have a governor, doesn't have members of the National Assembly, doesn't have state assembly members, and politics in this country depends on the structures you have at these various levels, at the local government level, at the state level, and at the national level. So it is very difficult to expect a miracle to happen, simply because Peter Obi is in the Labour Party.
Well, two quick follow-up questions. The first one is...
After all, they were saying through the social media they had more than 1 million votes in Osun State. But how many votes turn out to vote for Labour Party? And then again, mark you, you are talking about social media. In the North, 90% of our people are not tuned to social media. We got to that through APC. My fundamental disagreement with Asiwaju since 2007 was on the issue of Muslim ticket. That was my fundamental disagreement and departure politically from Asiwaju. Remember, I came out of PDP on the issue of zoning, and together with Asiwaju we formed esin, and I was given a ticket in Lagos, and he insisted to be my running mate. And I said, no, I'm not going to have a Muslim ticket.
There's something called the obedient movement that is gaining very serious momentum. In your private moments, do you feel sometimes, oh, maybe I should have invited Peter Obi back? But basically, how much is Ifeanyi Okowa bringing to the table?
This is a guy that is very brilliant, very well educated. He started political career from local government to a commissioner, from a commissioner to a senator, from a senator to a governor. So in terms of all political parameters, he really has got the experience. As I announced in my statement, I am seeking for a vice president who from day one can be a president. He is intellectually brilliant. So these are some of the reasons why I picked him.
So you don't miss Peter Obi?
Well, they are two different, people. Well, certainly my prospects are much higher. I think it's an unfair question to ask me because I know that my prospects are much higher. I mean, if you know the composition of the Northeast, You have Borno and Yobe. These are essentially 2 Kanuri states. And then you have the other states, which are essentially Hausa Fulani states. So even if people are going to vote on that basis, I think I have a more favorable, this thing from the Northeast.
Okay, I was going to ask you about something else, but let me start with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, since you mentioned his name. Yes, in 2007, the 2 of you were together in the Action Congress of Nigeria. I mean, publicly, the 2 of you are friends. So how do you feel running against a man who is considered as your ally? Because people are already saying, well, there isn't much difference between the 2 of them. They are friends. They are like minds. So whoever wins between the 2 of them is same of the same. But the question I actually wanted to ask is about Ruga and your opposition.
What?
To Ruga, your opposition to anti-open grazing law in some of the states or in all the states. In 2019, ahead of the election, you complained that this is a violation of the rights of the Hausa Fulani or herdsmen to live anywhere, to enjoy the freedom of movement. Now you want to unify the country. And that was a major issue ahead of the 2019 election. Have you had cause to change your position?
First of all, grazing or no grazing is not a federal issue. It's a state or regional issue. I have more than 1,000 heads of cattle. They have never gone beyond Adamawa State. So as far as I'm concerned, it is a regional or state issue. This is the facts of the case. So states are at liberty to take whatever measures in terms of law, either for or anti-grazing, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think the Federation should have anything to do with it. And I believe that was even what used to happen even in the First Republic. Yes, in the First Republic, there was a grazing this thing in the northern region because we used to have grazing reserves then in the northern region. But then the region became, split into states. And it is therefore the responsibility of the states. It's a concurrent issue even in our constitution. I don't think we should try to bring about, either legislation or changes at the national level.
How about you and Asiwaju Bola Tinubu being same of the same?
We are still friends. Of course, that doesn't mean that we will not have political differences. We have been having political differences ever since we became friends. Nothing unusual about that.
Okay, you are determined to beat him at the polls.
Of course. I'm sure.
Well, insecurity is another big concern in the country right now. How do you plan to address the violent attacks and kidnappings being perpetrated by Islamic extremists like Boko Haram and ISWAP? And then in the southeast, you have secessionist agitation. You have those enforcing stay-at-home orders every Monday and just causing complete mayhem.
I think first and foremost, you have to give every part of this country a sense of belonging because there have been exclusion, to some parts, of this country. Like, I think 2 nights ago, I was arguing before a very, very top government official. I said, how come, which is a common knowledge to most of the media houses, we have 17 security outfits in this country, and all of them being headed, by one section of the country. That's a very, very serious imbalance. So how are you now going to expect, people not to protest or to rise? And then, of course, secondly, there is insufficient number of law enforcement agencies or agents on the streets. And there is insufficient number of policemen on the streets. I give you an example. Egypt has a population of about 80 million. They have more than 2 million policemen on the streets. Here we are, Nigeria, we have over 200 million people, population, and less than 300,000 policemen on the streets. You know, the numbers cannot done with it. So there has to be a massive recruitment of Nigerians into the police, not only massive recruitment, but training and equipping. And then there has to be, every part of this country has to be given a sense of belonging. And I'm also a supporter for, state police. In the United States, they have about 3-4 levels of police. From state police to county police to borough police to city police, all types of police are there. We need to review that in our constitution.